Well, hello there. It's time for an update. What's happening, guys? My name is Rolandas. I'm approaching almost 1.5 months after my second hair transplant with Dr. Bruno Ferreira in Portugal. If you're new here, I was NW5a. I had 6,540 grafts transplanted from my back of the head to the top, the balding area, in 2 surgeries spaced 1 year apart. Currently, I'm about 1.5 months after my second transplant, and if you want to see the result of my first transplant, check out this video where I'm showing everything from day 0 to day 12. Day 12? From day 0 to month 12. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel, so you stay tuned for my future updates. I'm also posting a lot of useful and unbiased information in terms of hair transplants, hair loss medications, etc. A lot of my personal experience. I spent thousands of hours. 1,000 hours divided by 24. It's 41 days. And I'm more than happy to share all of my accumulated knowledge with you. So do me a favor, subscribe to the channel and like this video. Do it now. Okay, so I had transplant on 3rd and 4th of June 2021. What is happening? Well, for starters, you probably noticed that I look a little bit different. Yes, I went to the barber and I trimmed my donor area. So the plan was to go to the barber and trim my donor area pretty much as low as possible, or let's say as low as I used to do before my transplant, and see how it looks. Which means low skin fade. I used to do low skin fades with a gradual transition going up. And that's why I asked this time for my barber to do it. However, for some reason he decided not to do an actual skin fade. It means go directly to the skin. Instead, he did number 0 around the ears and on the nape of the neck, and going upwards like a blend in, basically. It's pretty short, and the shortest length of my hair was guard 0, obviously, and the longest on my donor, I think it's around guard maybe 2 on the very top over here. The main reason for this was just to see how my donor area looks like, what I could possibly get away with after extracting 6,500 grafts, which is a lot of grafts. 6,500 holes. To my surprise, donor area doesn't look really that bad. However, in certain areas of the donor, especially on the nape of the neck and around the ears, you can see a little bit of the scars. Mainly from the first transplant, because my scar tissue is healing in a really bad way. What I mean by that, my scar tissue has 0 pigment. It's properly white. Vast majority of people's scar tissues after FUE will have certain degree of pigment. So some gonna have less, some gonna have more. It's gonna determine how well your donor gonna look after, extractions, considering extractions were done well. So if you zoom in around the ears, like I said, here was from 0 and slow blend in. So again, the head is not really that long in certain areas, and around the ears you can kind of see a little bit like scarring here and there. It's not really that much, and of course in the picture it looks better than it looks in reality. It really depends on the light condition and on the angle, the way you look at the donor. So in certain conditions it's gonna be more visible than, for example, here right now. On my left side is much more visible. You not just see the previous extractions, but you also see current extractions. So the scars right now looking kind of like a pinkish reddish. They're still healing. It takes quite a long time for scars to heal properly and become white, basically. So yeah, here you can see around the ears, white dots are the previous, transplant, the result of previous transplant, and the kind of reddish pinkish dots are the extractions from this time around, from this second surgery. And yeah, they're pretty visible, but again, if you're really gonna be inspecting, if you're gonna move back like that, you really don't see anything unless you know what to look for, and you specifically looking for the scars, you're gonna find it. On a day-to-day basis, nobody ever told me outside my house that I've got something on my head, some scars or whatever. I never spotted anyone staring or whatever. The back, of course, occipital area is looking the best because it has the most amount of hairs per centimeter square, so it's really, really dense. And again, if you look closer on the top of the nape of the neck, you can kind of see something, that there is something is happening. There are some extractions. Again, in the picture it doesn't look really that bad, but in reality, in the very, very bottom over here, you can see like clearly dots. Again, depends on the light condition and angle. But nonetheless, this picture was taken 3 days after having a haircut. So hair grew a little bit longer, and to be honest, after just 3 days, it looks much better than it was before. This is the picture immediately after the haircut, and here the scars are much more visible on the occipital area. They're like all over, you see the dots? Again, the light condition, it's a bit different. This was my left side. Again, white dots are more visible, and even the red ones where the hair is a bit shorter. And the right side. The right side in general is like, it looks a bit stronger to me. And so far the way I look at it, if I have on the very bottom guard 1, and then slowly transition to guard 2, you're gonna be absolutely undetectable. So this is a great news for me after having so many extractions. I've also asked my barber to be a bit careful around the temple peaks, because I had some transplanted grafts in there as well. So instead of using clippers in that area, he instead used just a basic scissors to kind of trim a little bit the length. And also I asked him to trim a little bit of length on my top of the crown, where I have got like a patch of kind of thicker, denser, you know, native hair in there that grew quite long, and it was standing out basically. He didn't touch my front at all, and I decided to basically grow it as long as possible for now. I guess we're gonna see how it's gonna look. And yeah, while we're at it, let's have a look at my current situation at 1.5 months after my transplant. Important thing that I wanted to share with you guys is that I noticed my shedding kind of slowed down and pretty much stopped for the last 7 days. To my surprise, it's pretty quick. I think last year my shedding continued much longer. It continued for at least 1 month, so up to month 2 I think I was still shedding. This time around I literally don't see any hairs. So whatever we see right now is basically leftovers of the transplant after the shedding and some native hair. Of course, as you know, I'm on oral minoxidil. I experienced some shedding from oral minoxidil, which is a little bit difficult to follow because at the same time I kind of had the transplant and everything. Nonetheless, my mid-scalp and crown, to my surprise, does not look really that bad after transplant shedding. Possible, like a slight shock loss of the transplant and shedding from oral minoxidil. There is quite a lot of hair, a lot of miniaturized, and the way we can see which hair is transplanted and which one is not is by the very ends. Transplanted hair have this little tiny bulb at the very end of the hairs. You see here, this one, that one, over here, here as well. But yeah, looking at the pictures and everything, I think I shed around 70% of hairs, transplanted hair. So whatever you see right now, it's transplanted leftover hairs plus my native hairs plus some potential slight tiny regrowth from oral minoxidil, even though it's been a bit more than 1 month. I noticed my previous transplanted hairs, they're kind of bunching together. Again, it's possible I had some shock loss of previous transplanted hair. I'm not sure, but I don't know, it looks like, I feel like it was a bit thicker than it is right now. But yeah, it looks a little bit weird, to be honest. It's like bunching here and there, it's like, It's very strange. And right now, of course, you can clearly see where was the previous transplanted area. Like, clear line. You remember? So I still got a little bit of redness in my mid-scalp, top of the crown and the temple peaks as well. And a few, you know, here and there, like a pimples coming out. I think on this left temple peak there are some pimples, quite nasty looking, to be honest. And I'm still using aloe vera gel. I'm pretty much about to finish Dr. Ferreira's one. I'm still contemplating whether or not I should buy another bottle of aloe vera from Amazon. The one that I used last year was really good. Or I just leave it like that, because to be honest, my scalp is not really that red and I feel like it just gonna go away on its own pretty quickly anyways. Another thing that catched my eye after looking at the pictures is that I noticed that some of my transplanted hairs, they shed, but then they pretty much immediately started to grow for some reason. I don't know, to me it looks like, for example, in temple peaks over here. You see this quite thick hair? This is a definitely transplanted hair. I don't believe it's a native hair. Again, it's really difficult to track, but like, look, it's much shorter and looks like it just sprouted recently. These 3 hairs, for example, over here. On another temple peak, the same. Look, this one, 1, 2, maybe 3, 4. This one look pretty thick. It looks like it's definitely transplanted. It looks like they just started to grow. So yeah, I find it really interesting. Maybe oral minoxidil is interacting in some way to kind of speed up the, you know, the anagen phase, the growth phase, instead of being 3 months or up to 100 days in the telogen phase of non-growth phase. So yeah, gonna be looking into it and I'll make sure to update you guys on that. And if you don't want to miss it, so I think that's enough for this update. It's been a pretty long video already and I apologize for that. It's so much information that I wanted to share with you guys and it's pretty much impossible, you know, to kind of make it super short. But nonetheless, I'm gonna be posting more videos. The next one's gonna be coming on oral minoxidil update. It's over 1 month as well. And there's some things I'm gonna discuss in terms of efficacy, side effects, what I noticed so far, etc. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss this video. And for now, thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out. I spend hundreds, if not thousands, of hours. How many is in that? 1,000 hours? How many days? 41 days? Oh.